Welcome back. We are here with our prestigious guest and with our topic. And the topic today we are about to discuss is related to President Trump visit to Gulf state. All three in 3 days, he has been visiting Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE, and he has been doing kind of $1 trillion kind of business deals over there. So what's going on over there? And whereas at the same time, people in Gaza are under starvation war. So what's the problem over there? And when Donald Trump can stop a war between India and Pakistan in just a moment, you can say, with a just one tweet or one message, why he can't stop war within Gaza, and what's the situation in the whole region. So we'll discuss this in depth. We do have very prestigious guests with us. We do have Shabir Razavi, and we do have Aga Sayyid Arif Rizvi as well. Assalamu alaikum to both of you, and really honor to have you both on the show. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Walaikum assalam.
First of all, Shabir Razavi, I would like your viewpoint on the current visit of Donald Trump. What do you think? What's going on over there in Gulf state, and what kind of deals do you think they are making? I mean, it's very obvious they are taking economic advantage over there. There is a message from Trump as well that obviously they should accept, for instance, Israel as well, if through Abraham Accord. So, what are your thoughts on and analysis on this point?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you once again for the invitation. Of course, it's very clear what's going on. People talk about Trump being a transactional president, meaning he's only interested in deals, money, and sort of material values. What you've got to really understand is that, of course, each of the visits that he has made in the last 3 days. First, he was in Hijaz. I'd like to call it Hijaz rather than Saudi Arabia, and then in Qatar, and today he's arrived in the United Arab Emirates. Each is trying to overdo the other, if you like, in trying to please the monster from Washington, if you like. And he is obviously being very clear in his approach that he wants to take as much money as possible and commitment from all these states. As I said, they're all trying to outdo the other. We saw the manner in which he arrived in Hijaz with the entourage of horses and his motorcade sort of coming in. And in Qatar, his plane was guided by airplanes, the Air Force from Qatar. And today, when he arrived in the Emirates, women with loose hair were sort of greeting him, shaking their heads. So it's really quite a contradiction in the sense that these are Muslim countries, but they are also trying to, in a way, sell themselves very clearly, because they have, of course, been in power. Firstly, because of our country, the country that we live in UK. The regime in Riyadh was created by the British support with the help of Lawrence of Arabia, a master spy who was based there to dismantle the Ottoman Empire. And since then, the ruling family has captured Hijaz and have done whatever they want to do. Secondly, of course, Qatar, again, a dynasty which was sort of in power for the last 150 years, again, was supported by the British and so on. Then, of course, United Arab Emirates, they were known as the Trucial States when the British were in India, and they came under the sort of supervision of Britain. After Britain lost its luster as an imperial power, all these sort of dominions and countries in West Asia became part of the American sort of empire, if you like. So that's very clear that they know, and Trump is very sort of honest about it. And he said very clearly, I think yesterday in one of the meetings, that if America does not support you, you'll be finished in days. And that's the reality of it. They know it very well. However, interesting things that are developing is that Oman, which is also part of the GCC countries, Trump is not stopping there. He's not stopping in Kuwait or Bahrain at this moment. But of course, the main aim of the American political elite and all the presidents, whether it's Trump, Biden, or Obama, or anyone, you look at it, they are uh, they're in power because of the Zionist lobby, which has existed in such a strong manner. And I would recommend your esteemed viewers to read a book by Ilan Pape, which recently came out last year, about the Zionist lobby on the both sides of the Atlantic. And it very clearly shows that this has been going on virtually for over 100 years. But in the last 50 odd years, since the inception of the Zionist entity in West Asia, that has gone into top gear and really captured the political elite, both in the USA on that side of the pond and on this side of the pond, Britain and the European Union. They're all subservient to what the Zionists want. And we can see that very clearly that for the last 18, 19 months that the genocide has been taking place in Gaza, and the murder and mayhem in West Bank, plus also what's happened in Lebanon. And I'll talk about Syria if we have an opportunity later on as to what's happening there. But of course, it's very clear that what they are trying to achieve is not just sort of endorsing the Abraham Accords, but actually the annihilation of the axis of resistance, which has actually been supporting the cause of the Palestinians and the Gazans for so many years. So, in the bigger picture, in the geopolitical sense, if you like, what's happening is Trump is just carrying on what has been the strategy. People have talked about in the last few days and the week that Trump at three levels has gone against Netanyahu. One is the release of the American Israeli soldier, Alexander, that took place, that he went over the head of of Netanyahu. Secondly, he made a deal with the Yemeni, the Ansarullah, sort of, that we would not sort of attack you so long as you don't attack our ships. And thirdly, also negotiating with Hamas in Gaza. So people have talked about that there's some distance taking place between the Zionist regime and its head Netanyahu and Trump. But I think that is really perhaps a game which is being played to confuse the people that there is some gap, some fissure taking place between these two entities in Tel Aviv and Washington. I believe this is just a matter of trying to confuse people, because what you've got to remember that Trump has surrounded himself with the most ugliest of the Zionist propagandists. His foreign secretary Rubio is a diehard Zionist and anti-Islamic Republic of Iran. His ambassador in Jerusalem, Huckabee, he has been a vehement supporter of Zionism, and he has said that Palestine doesn't exist; it's Judea and Samaria. And of course, when Trump was in power in his first sort of administration, he moved the administration from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The embassy of the U.S. moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Plus, also, he said that Golan Heights belong to the Zionist entity. So he's done everything in his power to give support to the Zionist entity. If there is any distance, what will happen is that US will stop supplying armaments to the Zionist entity, will stop giving it diplomatic support, will completely cut off relationship with the Zionist entity if that is likely to, which is unlikely to happen. Because as I said, the Zionist lobby is so strong in Washington that it controls not only the Congress and the Senate, but also politicians lower down the rung. And we also saw in the UK when Jeremy Corbyn was not allowed to become the Prime Minister of United Kingdom because he was labeled an anti-Semite. So, of course, if there is a genuine individual who supports the Palestinian cause, will not come in power in any of the European countries or in Washington. So, as I said, Trump doing what he is best at is to grab money. He's acting like a hoodlum who destroys a shop and then goes to the other shop owners on the street saying that, see what happened to that shop. If you don't give me enough money, your shop will not be protected. So he's acting very much like a mafia gangster and destroying nations around the Arabian Peninsula, showing that this is what happened to Iraq, this is what happened to Syria, this is what happened to people in Gaza and Lebanon and Yemen. If you don't give me enough money, this is likely to happen to you. So I think
Hmm.
the dynastic family that rule uh, the country are really protecting their own power, they're protecting their own future in
Hmm.
a delusional manner. Because one thing that I want to say before our esteemed guest can sort of comment on it is that a famous and an important thing that was said by Henry Kissinger, a die-hard Zionist, when he was a Secretary of State of the United States. And I think this is what all leaders in the world should remember, and even also our country, our prime minister must also remember that he said that to be enemy of America is dangerous, but to be a friend of America is fatal. So anyone who is thinking of becoming a sort of a friend of the USA, they're really bidding time for their own fatality.
Thank you, Shabir Bhai. Aga Arif, what are your thoughts? What Shabir Bhai is saying, the influence side and the kind of situation we are watching since he has taken his office, is that he is acting like a boss and is telling the world that I'm the boss and I'm going to do whatever I would like to do, and everyone has to obey. And if somebody doesn't obey, there will be some consequences they have to face, as Shabir Bhai also mentioned so many aspects. So what how do you see the whole situation? What kind of what are the dimensions to the whole situation through which we should look at the situation? For instance, the way they are celebrating, the way girls are without hijab are dancing in front of them whatsoever as a welcome ceremony and things, and gifts are being given and all that. So how do you see the whole situation? What kind of messages it has underneath?
Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Yes, unfortunately, the visit of Trump is a bad omen for the entire region. And wherever US gets involved, irrespective of who is heading the state, it is never ever good for that country. Never ever. And specifically for the Muslim world. Trump or US has never had any soft corner, any good wishes or will for the Muslim world. So Trump coming over here and that too being welcomed by the Muslim world, definitely it's a shame on the Muslim Ummah. Muslim Ummah should be feeling ashamed about this, that a person who has been behind Israel, behind Zionist, and the killing of so many persons, today, they were celebrating with Trump and it was the 77th anniversary of Naqvi in Gaza, and 103 people were martyred today in Palestine. This was what is going on one side. On the other side, a $2.2 trillion deal has been signed with Trump. He is carrying a bag full of $2.2 trillion. In fact, today's evening news is that it's more. Even UAE has committed $1.4 trillion of just artificial intelligence investment which they are going to do in US. So his visit, which the media has been portraying, is that is more from the economical perspective, but that's not. The economic perspective is one side of it, where he definitely is has come to milk the cows over there in Saudi, in UAE, and Qatar, because these were the three main nations, and the other regions were like Kuwait. Kuwait is under Saudi dominance. Whatever Saudi does, they follow it blindly. So there is no point to visiting Kuwait and getting something from there. It's same. Similarly, Bahrain is also very well connected with Saudi, and it's the same thing as Saudi. UAE has its own stance and its own position. And many instances and cases they even try to confront Saudi Arabia. Similarly, Qatar we have seen has also been opposing Saudi Arabia for some time, and there were conflicts and there were divisions between them. Hence, he has very specifically targeted these three countries, and Oman remains the last one, which has played a neutral role everywhere as a mediator. And culturally, they don't give up on many things. So Trump's focus was very properly planned for the three countries in the region to get the maximum out of it. This was one agenda of getting economical benefit. The question is that why? Why these leaders want to give so much to Trump? A $400 million jet has been luxury jet has been a personal gift given by Qatar to Trump, on which the Republicans have made bit noise also, but that's all fine. Why they are so much pampering Trump? Why? The reason is the threat. The threat which US and specifically Trump has placed in their mind, and this is just an illusion, not a real threat. And that threat is from Iran and its proxies, the resistance movement. The biggest threat which these nations have is that if Palestine can see an uprising, if Lebanon can see Hezbollah, if Yemen can see an uprising, there's a possibility that Muslim Brotherhood rises again in Egypt, and that movement spreads. It can come inside Saudi Arabia because people in Saudi are not happy with the state at a grassroots level if you go. So these things can happen in the region. So they have been made to be feel afraid about this, that resistance is the biggest threat to you. And the axis of resistance is Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran. If you see in this visit, Trump has made a very specific commitment, very comment that the nuclear deal of Iran is almost done. We are almost there. It's done. And the dollar price and the share and the real just went up. Dollar bit weakened over there, and all these things happened immediately when oil prices went down. Most important thing which happened was this. So he quoted very clearly that the Iran deal is done. And the Middle Eastern rulers made also commented on it very clearly that yes, this is what they want. They want peace in the region. Now, the threat which is there on these rulers is that if a war starts in the region, if the conflict which is in Palestine spreads, and if US attacks Iran or Israel attacks Iran, US is sitting 20,000 kilometers, miles, 20,000 miles away from the Middle East. Iran cannot do anything to them. That's one thing. Israel is there in the region, but the major damage that is going to happen in this war is to the Gulf region, the Gulf countries. Whether intentionally or unintentionally, it is going to happen. The collateral damage, or Iran directly targeting, Yemen directly targeting, all these things are going to happen. So a war triggers in the region. Hence, these Middle Eastern powers, they don't want a regional conflict with a big power like Iran. They want to finish off the proxies in the region which are there. That is Hashad al-Shabi, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis. They want to wipe them off completely, but without getting Iran involved into this conflict. That's the main agenda over there. That Iran should not come in a direct war with US, because if it comes in a war, then US Marines are very limited in the region. And Iran has said very clearly they're not going to leave Aramco, they're not going to leave the US bases which are there in these countries. And today, Trump has made a deal over there. Qatar has committed that they're going to expand the US airbase which is there in Qatar. So this is a shameful thing that a US big airbase has been expanded by the money of Qatar over there. For whom? For whom it is for? Why US gives an airbase in that in this region? Is to confront whom? Is to confront India? No. Is it to confront Saudi Arabia? No. It is only for Iran, no one else. It's all done for Iran, for the Islamic Revolution, for curbing that movement over there. So these Muslim nations are strengthening US against the Islamic Republic. They are giving him like a extortion money, you can say, that please keep Iran under control. Whatever you want, take from us. This regional conflict should not happen. Iran, there should not be any war. Whatever it takes, whatever it costs, you need to get this deal done with Iran. Third agenda, which was also a very important agenda for Trump, was Palestine. He came with a clear message that we want to make Palestine a freedom zone. He has mentioned this before also, which gathered a lot of criticism from this a lot of other Muslim countries. And again, he has repeated this today. And he said very boldly that let us have it, give it to us, and see what we will make Palestine. We will make it a freedom zone. And this freedom zone plan, which he presented before, has 5 steps. First step is that US, by using military force, will completely control Palestine, and which is what is happening right now. That tolls are not like before. Okay, it used to be 10, 20, 30. Now it's 100 plus every day, which is going on. The second phase is US army will enter inside and clean all the bombs and mines, and the land will be flattened. And that's what Netanyahu is doing now. The small villages and towns today, they have used bulldozers to flatten those towns and small villages. That's what they're doing. And after that, that was a third step was to bring down the complete infrastructure and flatten the third step. The fourth step was to evacuate the Palestinians to Jordan and Egypt, and then build a Riviera over there, a beautiful city, the Freedom Zone, which he calls it, a place of licentious activity and vulgarity and all the fasad and fahshat over there, which they are going to do in this holy land of Palestine. Now, that's the motive which he had. And for this, he went to Syria as well and got a clear public statement to Sharani that, yes, we will go follow the Abraham Accord. And Syria today has submitted to Israel. We accept Israel. We have no conflicts with Israel. We are brothers. So everything is in place. The only thing that is not in place is the Iran nuclear deal. That's the only obstacle, nothing else. If Iran nuclear deals happens, that's it, finish. Iran is at the back. No, the Palestinians are not going to give up. Till the last person left over there, they are going to continue the struggle. They will die. They are not going to give up. They will not evacuate so easily that they will leave their land and go to Palestine and Egypt. But this is what is the regional map. And Trump has come over there to demonstrate this to the world that he has supremacy over these countries. It's not that everyone considers Trump as a boss. No, Stephen doesn't consider them as a boss. Putin doesn't consider them as a boss. No, they stand firm. Even Europe is trying to confront Trump in the tariff issues. So it's not that everyone wants to listen to Trump or everyone is afraid to Trump, but these countries unfortunately are afraid. And by coming over here, he's trying to show his supremacy that I have dominance over here. And also a message is given to China, whereby the China wants to make the Silk Route, which is going to go through Middle East only. You cannot avoid that route to go towards Europe. That it is under control of Trump over here. So this tenure of Trump, which he has come in 6 months, he says he has done deals worth $10 trillion in 6 months. 6 months, he has got that much revenue for US, and he is committing that no one will starve in US, and the borders are closed, no migrations. So he has done got a big change in the region, and that is all at the cost of the Muslim world. That's the pity. That's the saga over here. That we Muslims have been victimized by this one person, and the Muslim rulers have given up, have totally submitted to him, and whatever he wants, they are ready to give to him. That's a situation which I have just summarized of his visit over here. Now, the question definitely arises from here, and the next question would be like, okay, What next? What is the Muslim Ummah going to do? Or how are things going to change or unfold later on? Will Trump be successful in the agenda which he has, or some change will come? How will it come? No, those are all separate discussions.
Thank you, Arif bhai. Shabir bhai, what are your thoughts? What Arif bhai has mentioned about the situation? If you would like to add any comment on that, along with the Syria situation, as you were mentioning that you would like to comment on the. Obviously, Julani has met to Trump as well, and they were very happy. Sanctions are removed and all that. So, how do you see that situation? Along with this point as well, that Riyadh also want to do some kind of U.S. cooperation on developing a civil nuclear program. So do you think they would be able to do that over there? And if they do over there, then why they impose sanctions on Iran, for instance? So these kind of double standards, whole world is watching. So what kind of world do you think we are living in at the moment? Because and who is ruling actually? Because there is no rule for. I mean, if we look at international law or United Nation or Security Council and this and that. So I mean, whenever we say that word should intervene, for instance, in that certain situation whatsoever, so what is that word? Who is that word? And who is going to intervene, for instance? So what are your thoughts on these things?
Well, of course, the comments from brother in Oman are very eloquent and very clear. What I would sort of add, insofar as the Syrian situation is concerned, and as Rahbar has quite rightly pointed out over the last few months, since the ousting of Assad from Damascus, is that this may be a short term situation. It may appear bewildering, it may appear painful. It obviously is very clear that the one of the key in the axis of resistance has been lost, which is Syria, because since the inception of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, Bashar al-Assad's father, Hafiz al-Assad, was very much the only Arab nation that supported the Islamic Republic of Iran. Even during the 8-year imposed war, it was really Hafiz al-Assad who continues to support the Islamic Republic of Iran. Therefore, the whole government, the administration in Damascus was seen as an enemy of the Zionist entity and also of the West. So that was one of the reasons, as analysts have quite rightly pointed out, that to get rid of Bashar al-Assad was one of the key things that happened in the last 12 years since the so-called civil war in Syria. And as we all know, that it wasn't really quite a civil war, because there were foreign elements from all over Europe. The fighters went from China. The Uyghur Muslims were recruited, and all kinds of from Uzbekistan, from Kazakhstan, you name it. And of course, we know that European young Muslims were sort of fooled into fighting the Assad government in Damascus. So, yes, that has been a loss, but inshallah, as Rahbar says, that it may be short lived, because things, sister, are moving so rapidly. And since the last few years, uh, uh, literally overnight, things change. So one doesn't know that all these sort of meetings in palaces in Riyadh, in Qatar, and in Abu Dhabi may look glamorous and exciting for the media, but really, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works in his own mysterious ways. And he has quite clearly said in the Holy Quran that you plan and I'll plan, and I'm a better planner. So his plans we are not aware of as to what's happening. And what the resistance in Gaza has very clearly shown for the last 18, 19 months is that no matter what heinous crimes that the Zionist entity continues to perpetrate on that small enclave, people are resisting. People are sort of not really accepting the position of subservience. they want to be liberated, they want to be free, they want to have their own state there. And this two-state solution, again, is a sort of a nonsensical starting point, because even the Zionists themselves do not want a two-state solution. So how can Muslims accept a two-state solution? This is just a talking point for liberal Muslims to feel excited that the Palestinians may have some kind of a state in West Bank and Gaza. And West Bank, we already know, is an apartheid sort of state where someone described it like cheddar cheese with holes in it. So really a possibility of putting a structure of a state in West Bank and Gaza is not really feasible. So the reality is that sooner or later there would have to be a one state, which is what Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the founder of the Islamic Revolution, Imam Khomeini, and the Rahbar have continuously said that have a democratic vote, have a one person, one vote in the entity which is now called Israel, and then people can decide which route they want to take. But of course, they don't want to allow that because the population is almost equal of the imported Zionists living in that part of the world, and of course the Palestinians who occupy West Bank, and significant sort of Arabs live in the Zionist entity itself, and then Gaza. So the population demographically is almost equal at this moment. And of course, that could potentially create a problem for them. Insofar as Syria is concerned, I think Giuliani, whatever, it's really amazing when you think about it that only a few months ago he was a terrorist with a $10 million bounty on his head. And now, because he wears a suit and tie, he's an acceptable sort of brand now. So we can see that, they can call anyone terrorist, and anyone sort of, as soon as he sort of becomes part of their agenda and their sort of approach to global politics, is rehabilitated, is invited into palaces, and seen to be, like Trump described, that he's young, he's strong, and a fighter. So, that's how they are marketing Giuliani as a strong leader for Syria. But times change. Times change rapidly. And I'm a firm believer that this may be, I'm not saying that it's going to happen in 6 months or a year. It could be 5 years or 10 years of pain that we have to suffer. But at the end of the day, the people in Syria will realize that this particular group of butchers who not long ago were beheading people and have also continued to do so in the last 5-6 months, and since they have occupied Damascus, sort of killing minorities, whether Christian, Druze, or Shia. So they're not really sort of people-friendly people. Their brand may appear to be acceptable to the West, but really, the West is not the only player in the market at this moment. You have China, you have Russia, you have the BRIC countries, and things are happening in that sort of space quite rapidly. We just have to wait and see what will happen.
Thank you, Shabir Bhai. Aga, what are your thoughts? What Shabir Bhai has mentioned, if you would like to add anything in that, along with the situation within Gaza, because evacuation orders are there from the Netanyahu, IDF and all that, and obviously people are starving to death, and there is so much chaos going on. This is one aspect, and the other aspect is where is the excess of resistance? Where are they up to? What they are doing at the moment, what is the situation over there in that context, in Lebanon, or like in Gaza and all that. So how do you see their role at the moment, what they are up to? And if we look at the situation within kind of Israel, because there are people who are standing against Netanyahu as well, and a situation, they are also, I think so some voices are coming against Netanyahu on this genocide whatsoever. So how do you see, if you compare the situation of Netanyahu versus excess of resistance, or versus kind of a Trump situation and Muslim world, so where we are heading? I mean, how do you see this whole situation, which is really really painful and beyond words? I mean, we don't have exact word which can reflect the pain people are suffering, and I mean, it's beyond word. So how would you like to share your viewpoint on that?
Yeah, the situation in Gaza is highly tragic and painful, and it's part of the strategy of Netanyahu to starve people of Gaza to death. On one side, they are bombing, and other side, there is absolutely no one vessel which was about to go there was attacked and bombed. Flotilla 2, which was going there, just I think yesterday or today it was. It got bombed. No aid is going to reach there. They're not allowing any aid to reach Palestinians. At present, even the fishing which was happening on the banks, that has been prohibited. They're not allowing them to do fishing. The turtles which are coming outside on the sand, on the beaches, they are killing those, slaughtering those turtles and eating them now. That's the situation over there. So the people are being led to starve to death, and it's a painful thing which is happening. And the more than this, the pain is that the grief is that the Muslim Ummah is silent, and there is no one there to raise voice or stand for supporting them. The axis of resistance which was there, which was happening before, and Palestinian had very strong support when Hezbollah was very actively bombing, and Syria was the bridge through which all the logistics supply was going. And this bridge was broken due to the treachery of Erdogan primarily, and due to that, the situation changed in the entire region. Hezbollah went through a ceasefire, and now they are no more involved into anything because they're also cut off. There is no logistic supply to them going on. On the other end, you see Hashad al-Shabi within Iraq has been controlled completely. Then the only entity which is struggling and fighting for Palestinian are the Yemenis, the Houthis. They are standing strong, firm, and whatever they have, they are doing it. And whatever support Iran is trying to give them, that also in a very, very difficult thing because Iran is going through a cease through a deal with US, and they cannot openly support even Yemenis. It's only the underground channels of IRGC that supports the Houthis. Not officially anything is allowed to go even to Yemen over there. So in this situation, if you see, the axis of resistance has gone into a pause right now. In generally, if you say, though there are minor attacks happening and Yemenis are trying to create some damage to them so that they step back, and they will continue to do that, but that's not enough, and that might not curb Netanyahu to step back or do something different or give some support to Palestinians. The only thing that can help is the international support, the voice of humanity, which should come from across the globe, specifically in the Western world or Far East. The Far East has been totally dead on this. They have not cared at all anything about Palestine, whether it is Japan, the Oriental countries, or even the Muslim countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, the Java region. Nothing has happened over there. But in West, there has been some noise in US, in the universities, the students, and then in UK, things have happened. In Canada, things have happened. So these are the places where the voice has to come up now, where some struggle has to be put up to at least allow some aid to reach Palestinians. They should not be allowed to starve to death. And this also, Alhamdulillah, presents one very good thing for us, that is the power of resistance. That if you see that when someone stands in this cause, in the way of Allah, on the Sabil Allah, on the path of Allah, you see the istiqamat, you see the perseverance which these Palestinians have. That in this situation, when they are starving, when they are bombed to death, when they have no food, their children, their elders, everyone is dying, no medicine, nothing, still they are not ready to submit. Not even a single Palestinian comes on the media and says, we want to give up and we want to be friendly with Israel. This shows that even if you control the resistance by bringing down the bridge of Syria or making deals with Iran or doing ceasefire, whatever, resistance can never die. It's impossible that resistance will die. If you see in Karbala, everyone got martyred. Everyone, no one was left. It was just like what Netanyahu wants to do. complete flattening. They flattened everyone over there on the plains of Karbala, but they did not realize that the leftover of those women and children, they were in fact enough to spark off a revolution forever to come. This is the power of resistance, that you cannot kill someone and then say that, okay, it will be over. It will not be over. This is the fuel for future resistance. The blood of Palestinians, the tears of Palestinian children, the cries of the mourning, the lamentation of these Palestinians, it is fueling up a much bigger resistance coming up in near future. And that resistance is going to bring an end of Israel. That's for sure it is going to happen. These dreams might not get fulfilled. You might see temporarily things happening, which might go on for months or maybe for few years. But again, the table will turn. Again, the things will change. Because again, these are divine customs, Sunan Ilahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not that miracles just happen like this. If miracles were to happen and sanctimonious personalities and innocent people would have been saved, then this miracle would have happened in Karbala. Allah did not protect the 72 martyrs and the children from getting captive and suffering all those atrocities. No, because it's the duty of the Ummah to protect the sanctimonious people, to protect the innocent people. And the Ummah has to rise and do this. And Ummah doesn't rises when they are subdued so much by ethical corruption, by moral corruption, by degradation of values. It takes the blood of sacred people like Imam Hussain to revive the Ummah. Similarly, you can see in this era, when 100,000 plus Palestinians have been killed, martyred, and more than 300,000 are wounded. In fact, the figures would be much high because we don't have any real statistics coming out from there. So when hundreds of thousands of people are suffering over there, 2 million people are being planned to be evacuated, taken out from there, and still if there is no movement happening in the Muslim Ummah, this means there's a degradation of values in the Muslim Ummah. There is no humanity left at all. And this humanity doesn't get revived by just speeches and slogans. They only get revived when they witness the atrocities, when people see the blood, when people see these kind of things. You would have seen that video of, I think, an Australian MP, I don't know, Australian MP or South African, I don't remember, Australian maybe. The way she was literally crying when giving the speech about Palestinians. So these atrocities are going to generate these sparks amongst the people. It's not that those who consider themselves sanctimonious sitting in mosque doing Hajj today, you see millions of people are going to Hajj and these people are starving over there. This Hajj is of no use if you cannot raise a voice for them as well. What use of this Hajj? Allah has not made this creation, made us to do this ritualistic worship. These ritualistic worships were meant so that you get prepared to stone the shaitan of your era. You are stoning those pillars over there, but you are not even concerned about what the shaitans of this era are doing with these innocent people. What kind of Hajj is this? This is exactly the same situation of Karbala. People were getting the Imam Hussein was leaving for Karbala. He got martyred in Karbala, and these people were sitting and doing Hajj, and after Hajj, Umrah, and Tawaful Nisa, and everything they were doing over there. Same thing is happening. Exactly same thing is happening in today. Just like the blood of 72 then revived the Ummah, you might need the blood of maybe 7.72,000 or maybe 720,000 or maybe 7 lakhs, 7 million. You don't know. You need that much blood to revive the Ummah. But it will definitely revive. There is no doubt about that. These people cannot destroy. 124,000 prophets came with a mission and they were successful in establishing an Islamic system. It happened, it took time, but they established. And this is going to remain. And how this is going to happen, what role we are going to play in this, that's what we should be concerned about. People of Palestinian are successful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them the highest, most loftiest position which anyone can deserve, which these people have got. But what about us? What about the Ummah? What have we done? Where do we stand? This is a test, an ibtila of the Muslim Ummah. That where we stand when we see these atrocities going on. And you can see the drama which has happened in last 3 days, where the Muslim rulers are. Rulers have shown their true face. Now, Ummah also has to show their true face, the divine true face, not the face which they've been demonstrating now by remaining silent. And there are people, there are countries like Egypt, there are countries like Pakistan. These countries have the potential to rise and bring a big change in the region. They can influence the Palestinian, they can influence what Israel is doing, what US is doing. And they need to be awakened. If these nations become the African nations, the African Muslims, Egypt, Algeria, all these people, when if they are awakened, things can change. Now, okay, we can see Iran and all these countries are under control. The axis of resistance is under control. This doesn't mean we should just look at them that what will happen, what will happen, what will happen. Will they fight or will they not fight? Will they come back? Will they not come? No. You have 2 billion Muslim people, Muslim Ummah. You have movement in Nigeria. You have movement even outside this region. So these movements need to increase. When these movements go up, then things will start to change, inshallah. Your voice is not coming.
Can you hear me now? Thank you
Yes,
so
yes.
much, Arif bhai. So, Shabir bhai, what are your thoughts on what Agarif has mentioned about the situation? And when we look at the whole situation, what do you think when, for example, if we look at Pakistan and, for example, Egypt, if they want to attack, for instance, Israel, just in case as a case study, we can think about it, just to think like that. So, do you think why they can't attack Israel and just to save the innocent lives over there, because this word look for human rights and things like that? So what stops them from doing that? And how we can empower people, especially on the ground, especially in Muslim words, that they could stop these, for example, Arab countries rulers doing whatever they are doing, because this is their money. For instance, this is not the money of these rulers, which they are spending on, for example, Trump, lavish welcome and all that. So how do you see this situation, and how do you see, what do you think that we can do to improve the situation and play our role as effective role? Because I personally see, when I look at the things, I think non-Muslims are doing more better job than the Muslim around the globe at the moment in terms of situation within Gaza. So what are your thoughts on this thing? What are the most important thing we can do at this stage? Because innocent lives are taken away, they are doing their role, who for example, excess of resistance, and the people in Gaza, they are resisting and they are trying their best. So the role on our side, what kind of role do you see on our side, and what we can do?
Well, sister, the civil society, which includes all of us, three of us talking on this platform, and the people who go on marches in different parts of the world, that's the civil society. That's the ordinary people who have seen the pain and the suffering and the blood of the martyrs in Gaza and the West Bank and all over West Asia, but particularly Gaza, which has been a sort of a ghastly situation. And we see very clearly that it has really brought the ordinary people on the road. But the problem is that it's very clearly an instruction in Islam that you should at least dislike evil in your heart. That's the lowest of the sort of resistance, if you like. And then the next level is that you should speak out, talk about it, write about it, articulate it in any shape or form. That's the second level of resistance, if you like. The highest level of resistance is obviously to pick up a gun and fight, we living in the West or in other parts of the world are not really in a position to do so. So, what we are doing is that second level of jihad, if you like, to voice the pain of the voiceless at this moment. But what is interesting, the question that you talked about, Egypt and Pakistan, it's again a different topic, perhaps for some other occasion, but just very quickly, what I would like to say is that both Cairo and Islamabad, and because in both countries, the military has been ruling for decades, whether it's a so called democratic election or the democratically elected prime minister being removed constitutionally in Pakistan, and Egypt, Sisi came into power after removing Morsi, who was democratically elected. And both the militaries get huge sort of financial support from Washington. So quite often they are not able to do whatever they can to support the Muslim Ummah. But just as a sort of side angle, we can see that in the sort of small, not war, I would say, but the crisis that took place between Pakistan and India, the way the Pakistan Air Force performed, it was very clear that it's a very competent, very powerful, hugely talented, and greatly trained Air Force. If it had the power and the decision making to do, those pilots can go and bomb the Zionist entity to smithereens, if you like. Because one of the big problems that the axis of resistance has is that they don't have any air force to sort of challenge the Zionist entity. Because what we can see is that whether it's America, US using its aeroplanes to degrade the Yemenis and the Ansarullah in Yemen, or what the Zionist entity does in Gaza, is with bombs from aeroplanes. But when they go on the ground, we can see that for the last 2.5 months, since complete blockade of Gaza, when they're sending ground troops in, they are really finding it very difficult. Many of the, Israeli offensive force, not IDF, IOF, are losing their lives, getting injured and maimed, because they know that putting soldiers on the ground, those soldiers really are okay. They're fighting for a nation, but they really don't have the power, the desire to protect their own land and people. Therefore, the resistance is able to fight even in a dramatic manner if soldiers come on the ground. That's the reason why they don't send. That's the reason why America, for whatever reason, but particularly for this reason, has not sent ground troops into Yemen, and they are unlikely to do that to the Islamic Republic of Iran. What they will do is perhaps bomb from the skies and then sort of kill innocent people. But really, to go and fight, I don't think they have the guts or the courage to do so. That's one of the reasons why the battle in Gaza is turning out to be somewhat different when the Israeli soldiers start going and trying to fight the resistance there. So really, at the end of the day, Egypt and Pakistani government really cannot do anything because they are part of the Washington axis, if you like.
Thank you, Shabir bhai. Arif bhai, what are your thoughts on this point that we have seen that there was a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, one thing. So, do you think what are the terms and conditions they have been agreed to? Do we have any kind of, agreement between India and Pakistan recently about that? If you can update on a little bit on that, as well as if you can shed some light on the situation that do you think that Modi government would again attack Pakistan, because there are news coming up. I'm not sure if they are correct or not that India is sending jets and weapon and stuff like that in India. So do you think that in some time later on, maybe these kind of attacks would be coming back on Pakistan just to keep them engaged in certain situation, so that they I don't know whatever objective they have, but you can mention those objectives better than I can. So how do you see this part of the situation, and
Okay.
how would you like to share your point on that?
See, first of all, there is no such thing as a formal ceasefire agreement which has taken place or certain terms have been agreed. This ceasefire has been negotiated and mediated by Trump that they should both stop fighting. Okay. And Trump highlighted the major issue of the conflict is Kashmir, And he said, just like Palestine, I'll make Kashmir also a freedom zone separately. Now, I said in my last, I think, discussion which we had over here also, it was in Urdu, that this war is not over. This is just a break, a pause which is coming up. Because at present, after 1979, after the Islamic Revolution, and specifically after Hezbollah gained power, they just want to crush every nation, every power, Muslim power, where they believe there would be a future hope of any revolution, any resistance which could confront the imperialistic power. And Pakistan is one of that potential which is there. With nuclear also available with Pakistan, and the world has seen the Pakistan's air force and the military power right now in this 4 or 5 days of conflict, which brings Pakistan out as a very powerful nation, provided, as Brother Shabir said, that these countries are ruled by military powers. That's right. That's major weakness over there, that they are ruled by military powers, the establishments. But if the direction changes and people are empowered and people are aroused and people are awakened, things can change overnight. Things can change very fast. As Imam Khomeini Rahmatullah Alayhi used to say, that resistance is not the role or the task of rulers. It is the people. It's people to people. People have to support people. One ummah has to support one nation. People of one nation would support people of other nation. Then things can change. Then rulers become helpless. Rulers cannot do anything if people are not standing with them. If people remain silent because rulers are not doing anything, then things are not going to change. Hence, this battle between India and Pakistan will continue. Because India also has one agenda for the Muslims, which is a complete cleansing of Muslims from India. The Indian Muslims are equal in numbers to the Pakistani Muslim, almost 200 million. It's a big power. Together, if you count them, it's 500 million Muslims out of 2 billion Muslims in the world, which means you're talking about 25% of Muslims in this one small region of India and Pakistan over here, which is a big power. If the Muslims in India rise, they can bring a big change. So Modi has to suppress these Muslims, do an ethnic cleansing over there of the Muslims in India. And on the other hand, they also want to control the Muslims in Pakistan. And the way they want to do is through India only, keeping the borders busy and then doing infiltration inside. In the last session, I said that now what India is going to do, India is not going to come in a direct confrontation with Pakistan. They have learned the lesson. They will become more aggressive in Balochistan, in KPK, through internal unrest, terrorism, these kind of things they will do. And I think 2 days later, a video came out, I think from Pakistan or from somewhere, that how BLA has now commented that we are going to start a liberation movement now in Balochistan to cut it off from Pakistan completely. So this battle is going on. The form and the face will change. Now Pakistan will again try to fight more aggressively from inside. They have tasted that they cannot do it directly. They will put all their energy inside. It's the same war, whether it is BLA doing terrorist activity or whether the TTP doing terrorist activity. It's India behind it. It's India supporting it. And this is going to go on for some time like this rather than a direct confrontation, because direct confrontation turns out to be too expensive for India. Too expensive for India. They suffer big economic losses. Their army is very weak, very ill managed. They cannot confront directly. And this is the best route which they are going to follow. Sectarianism, takfirism, terrorism, extremism. That's what they're going to create inside Pakistan and fuel it and spark it. And more they're going to do this inside Pakistan. That's what is going to happen with this war now in the very, very near future. In days, weeks, and months, you can see all these things happening.
Thank you. Shabir bhai, if you would like to share some views on the situation between India and Pakistan, if you would like to add anything conclusively, it would be wonderful. How do you see the whole situation, and if you have any special comments on that, and you would like to add on that, that would be great.
One thing I think, remember that it is with India, not just India, but the Hindutva sort of philosophy and doctrine, which part of the Dhul government, Modi and the BJP, they have been working together very closely with the Zionist entity. Uh, During the last 18, 19 months in Gaza, some of the most vicious soldiers that are fighting with the Zionist entity are the Indian soldiers who have been the most brutal. They've been documented evidence which show very clearly how they act. The other thing is that we must remember the Quranic ayah when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that two of the worst enemies of Muslims would be the Yahudis and the polytheists, and the worst of them is the polytheists. So the Hindutva philosophy is an expression of this enmity to the Muslims. Of course, as our brother quite rightly pointed out, that there are 200, 250 million Muslims living in India. And of course, they are being marginalized, and we can see that even during the 3, 4 days crisis that took place between India and Pakistan, how the Indian Muslims were being treated in India. So it is very clear. Plus, also, this sort of terrorist so-called attack that took place. Now it is becoming evidently clear that perhaps it was a false flag, and there are many, many Zionist advisors in Kashmir, Indian Kashmir, who have been there for many years. There are sort of restaurants, hotels, which are owned by many of the Israelis who, after having fought in Gaza, go and rest and relax in Kashmir. So there is this sort of axis of evil which has been created between the Zionist entity and the Hindutva, which is, of course, quite perilous. And of course, there is a lot of business that is one of the oligarchs in India has invested heavily in sport. So there's sort of military cooperation, technological cooperation, political cooperation between just the government and the Zionist entity in Tel Aviv. So exactly, it's going to be what our brother quite rightly pointed out, ethnic cleansing of India, but there are 200 million people living there, so it may not be that easy for the Hindutva government to do that. However, the strategy is to really marginalize, to reduce the economic power of the Indian Muslims living in India, and at the same time create some kind of mission in Pakistan. But of course, you must remember that even in India, there are lots of animosity between different regions and so on. And again, that's a different topic for a different day, if you like.
Thank you so much, Abir Bhai, and thank you so much, Arif Bhai, for being with us on the show and discussing the most important issues. And whatever your analysis was very helpful. I guess everyone can make sense of it. And I'll take a leave now on this point that we all need to work hard in order help the people of Gaza, because they are starving to death, and this is our role and responsibility that we do whatever we can in favor of them and standing by standing against the oppressor of our time. Thank you so much for watching. Look after yourself. Allah Hafiz.